thousands of years before the Targaryen conquest of Westeros, the prehistoric Dawn Age saw the continent populated by giants and children of the forest, until they were largely supplanted by first men migrating through the Arm of Dorne from Essos in the east. After a lengthy war in which this land bridge was shattered and sunk into the sea, a peace pact gave way to the legendary Age of Heroes, when first men spread throughout the continent while giants retreated into the far north and children into the deep forests. Adopting the old gods of the children, the first men prospered for millennia, even defeating a horrifying invasion by White Walkers during the Long Night roughly 8,000 years before conquest. As a result of this invasion, the Night's Watch Brotherhood took charge of the Great Ice Wall in the far north, guarding the realm from all threats beyond the border. Yet in time, the first men too were supplanted by foreign invaders, conquered by the fair-haired Seven-worshipping Andals, sailing in great numbers from Andalos in the east. Launching a religious crusade, the Andals conquered every realm of the continent, save for the Kingdom of the North under House Stark, where King Theon Stark not only defeated any attempted invasions, but also launched a campaign of vengeance against their homeland of Andalos in reprisal. Though the North remained a realm of the First Men, all lands south of the Neck were ruled by Andals, who intermarried with and adopted many traditions of the defeated, most noticeably in the Iron Islands, where they abandoned the Seven to worship the drowned god of the local population. Around 700 years before conquest, the last major migration into Westeros occurred when Princess Nymeria led what remained of a 10,000-ship Rhoynar refugee fleet, escaping the Dragon Lords of Valyria, who conquered their city-states along the Rhoyne River in Essos. After failing to settle other lands, Nymeria arrived in Dorne and married the Andal leader of House Martell, creating an alliance that conquered the territory. Having vanquished the Rhoynar and Andal peoples of Essos, the Dragon Lords of the Valyrian Freehold controlled nearly all lands west of the Bone Mountains, renowned for their bond with dragons, magical abilities, resistance to heat, unique cultural traits like marrying within their own families, and physical traits like pale skin, silver gold hair, and purple eyes. Legends say they began as simple sheep herders who discovered dragons living near the 14 Flames volcano chain on the Valyrian Peninsula, bonding with the creatures and using their strength to conquer much of the continent. Ruled by the 40 wealthiest and most influential families, the Targaryens were a minor ruling house that gained a reputation for cowardice in 114 BC when they moved to the small, faraway island of Dragonstone in the Narrow Sea. However, they left because Daenys the Dreamer had a vision foreseeing a great tragedy that would destroy the Valyrian Peninsula. Trusting his daughter's prophecy, the patriarch of their family, Aenar Targaryen, moved their entire household west, and as a result were the only ruling family to survive the doom of Valyria, which struck 12 years later in 102 BC. Although the exact origin of this tragic event was not known, it was believed the 14 Flames erupted, destroying their cities and shattering the peninsula. Following the doom, Essos descended into a century of blood, with former Valyrian territories struggling for survival, while on Dragonstone the Targaryens allied with House Valerion of Driftmark and House Celtigar of Claw Isle, as both were of Valyrian ancestry, working together to become a major power in the Narrow Sea, controlling trade with the threat of dragonfire. Though the Targaryens had little interest in the former realms of Valyria, nearing the end of the Century of Blood, young Lord Aegon Targaryen joined an alliance to stop Volantene aggression against Tyrosh, Myr, and Lys, bringing relative peace to the region. Aegon then turned his attention west and began preparing for the invasion of Westeros, ordering the construction of an elaborately carved table with a detailed map of Westeros more than 50 feet long and 25 feet wide. Yet while Aegon considered the entire continent one territory to rule, by the year 2 BC, Westeros was divided into 7 distinct realms south of the northern ice wall, including the Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and Vale, the Kingdom of the Isles and Rivers, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, the Kingdom of the Storm, and Dorne. Though the Targaryens brought 5 dragons from Valyria, 4 died in the ensuing years, leaving Aegon to ride the last survivor, Balerion the Black Dread, while his 2 sister wives, Visenya and Rhaenys, took Vhagar and Meraxes, 2 more recently hatched creatures born on Dragonstone. Joined by his sister wives, their dragons, and a small army of soldiers from their allies in House Valerion, Celtigar, and Massey, the Targaryens began their invasion of Westeros, landing at the mouth of Blackwater Rush, where they built the Aegon Fort, later known as King's Landing, and crowned Aegon Targaryen, king of all Westeros. Thanks to their dragons, the Targaryens conquered 6 of 7 kingdoms, but were never able to defeat House Martell of Dorne, which steadfastly refused to surrender, fighting a guerrilla war throughout the first decade of King Aegon's rule, striking back with severity when they killed Queen Rhaenys and Meraxes. Hostilities were so prevalent, Visenya created the Kingsguard to protect her husband from assassination in 10 AC. Finally accepting defeat in 13 AC, Aegon signed a peace treaty with Dorne, allowing the realm to prosper for the rest of his reign, benefiting from his fair and wise rule. After the death of Aegon the Conqueror in 37 AC, the Iron Throne was inherited by his eldest son Aenys, son of Rhaenys, a good-hearted man who lacked the cunning of his father and ferocity of his younger brother Maegor, son of Visenya. Unfortunately, the reign of Aenys Targaryen proved short and disastrous, beginning with 4 rebellions that emerged within the first year of his rule. Indecisive and uncertain, Aenys could not choose a firm course of action, leaving the attacks to be handled by his brother Maegor and local lords. Unfortunately for the king, shortly after defeating the rebels, war again threatened the continent when Aenys married his eldest son Aegon to his eldest daughter Rhaena. Though the High Septon and Faith of the Seven tolerated Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wives, they now demanded that House Targaryen abandon the ancient practice of marrying within their own family. Up to this point, a profound cultural clash was avoided because the Conqueror had no daughters, allowing his son Maegor to be matched with Cerys Hightower, while his firstborn son and heir was paired with Alyssa Velaryon, seeing House Velaryon become a common and reliable source of highborn spouses for the royal family, as their Valyrian blood and long-standing loyalty made them ideal candidates. Yet despite his own fruitful and successful marriage, Aenys was determined to continue this cultural tradition and outright refuse the High Septon, causing the leader of the faith to lash out and name him King Abomination before rebelling against the crown. Sickly since birth, Aenys grew ill and haggard from the stress of the faith militant uprising, and his inability to make decisions meant the war only grew worse until 42 AC, when after only 5 years of rule, he died at the age of 35, with some suggesting he was poisoned by his aunt Visenya. After his death, Visenya crowned her son Maegor as the new king of Westeros, bypassing the children of Aenys. After winning a trial of 7 against champions of the faith who challenged his claim, King Maegor escalated the war by burning the Sept of Remembrance in the capital and mercilessly raining dragonfire upon the enemy at nearly every engagement. A man of terrible cruelty, Maegor personally supervised the construction of the Red Keep, building a number of hidden passageways within the walls and underground, only to execute the builders so they could never reveal what they knew. Refusing to accept his uncle as king, Aegon, the eldest son of Aenys, raised his own armies in 43 AC, but was killed in the battle beneath the God's Eye. Yet by this point, nearly all of Westeros turned against Maegor for his cruelty and ruthless, widespread violence, causing the Lords of the Realm to support Jaehaerys Targaryen, the younger brother of Aegon, as the rightful heir to King Aenys. Losing all support and any hope of victory, Maegor was found dead, possibly from suicide, cutting and stabbing himself on the swords of the Iron Throne. With the king dead, Jaehaerys Targaryen came into power at the age of 14 and soon earned the nickname Conciliator by making peace with the High Septon and granting amnesty to those who served Maegor or the faith militants. Working diligently to address the concerns of nobles and smallfolk, Jaehaerys and his sister wife, Alysanne, both proved shrewd and highly capable, leading to decades of peace and prosperity, considered the golden age of Targaryen rule. Reigning for 55 years, King Jaehaerys the Conciliator created a unified code of law for the Seven Kingdoms, negotiated to reduce their debt with Braavos, limited personal expenses, and raised taxes on the wealthy, investing this income into infrastructure for the capital and beyond, building the Dragon Pit to house their dragons, fountains to provide clean water, drains, sewers, and a road system connecting the territories they controlled. To prevent another religious rebellion, the king sent 7 speakers across the continent to preach and popularize the doctrine of exceptionalism, which stated that while incest was wrong in Andal tradition, the Targaryens were an exception because they were Valyrian and could bond with dragons. Though the king had many children, he outlived them all, creating the question of succession near the end of his reign. To solve the matter, Jaehaerys called a great council in 101 AC, where many candidates were presented before the lords of Westeros, who ultimately chose Viserys, eldest son to the 4th-born child of the king, thereby passing over Rhaenys, daughter of the elder 3rd-born child, establishing a precedent that the crown could not pass to a woman or through a female line. The issue decided, Jaehaerys grew increasingly ill and bedridden, with young Alicent Hightower, daughter to the hand of the king Otto Hightower, serving as his personal attendant, offering comfort in his final days. It was while the 15-year-old Alicent Hightower was reading to him that the old king died in 103 AC, leaving his grandson Viserys a wealthy, peaceful, and prosperous realm at the very height of its power. While Viserys was not a brilliant, transformative figure like his grandfather, he was a kind, amiable king well loved by his subjects, continuing most of the policies which led to their years of prosperity. One of the greatest assets he inherited from his grandfather was the loyalty and naval fleet of House Velaryon, which under the sea snake Lord Corlys Velaryon became the wealthiest family in the Seven Kingdoms, gaining great riches from his famous sea voyages to the Far East. A famous ship captain, descended from a long line of sailors, Corlys Velaryon was named Master of Ships and married Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, the cousin of Viserys I. The king, meanwhile, married Aemma, the daughter of his father's sister, and had 3 children, including 2 sons which died in their infancy, and a girl Rhaenyra who survived and grew into a beautiful, intelligent, fearsome, proud Targaryen princess nicknamed the Realm's Delight. After the death of his wife in childbirth, Viserys feared his lack of a son might lead the people to rally behind his wild and volatile brother, the rogue prince Daemon Targaryen, as heir, believing him unfit for the throne. Knighted at 16, Daemon was a great warrior who wielded the Valyrian steel sword Darksister, but had little patience for matters of administration, serving first as Master of Coin and then Master of Laws, before finally finding his proper place as commander of the City Watch in the capital, giving them matching gold cloaks as well as a greater sense of unity and respectability, thereby winning their loyalty. Called Prince of the City, Daemon consorted with commoners, criminals, and prostitutes, making many, including his brother, feel he was not suited for the Iron Throne. Despite past precedent and the decisions of his grandfather, Viserys felt entitled to make any decision he wished concerning his heir, as the overwhelming might of House Targaryen's dragons meant the king could act as an absolute monarch, changing laws, ignoring tradition, and establishing reforms as he saw fit. Therefore, in the matter of succession, Viserys took an uncharacteristically firm and unwavering position, contradicting the carefully considered precedent established in years past to name his daughter Rhaenyra Targaryen as heir to the Iron Throne. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Sir Daeron of House Ashford, Sir Elendil of Numenor, Sir Jeremiah Ironside of House Comcia, Chris Wilder the Crimson Shadow, and Sir Fred Heartless, Knight of Iron and Ice. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.